Welcome back to Typewriter Minutes. This is Sam. Big Ben is the nickname for the great bell of the clock at the north end of the Palace of Westminster in London. The nickname Big Ben usually refers to both the clock and the clock tower. The tower was designed by Augustus Pugin in a neo-Gothic style. When completed in 1859, its clock was the largest and most accurate four-faced striking and chiming clock in the world. The tower stands 315 feet tall, and the climb from ground level to the belfry is 334 steps. The origin of the bell's nickname is uncertain. It may be named after Sir Benjamin Hall, who oversaw its installation, or heavyweight boxing champion Benjamin Conte. The tower is a British cultural icon recognized all over the world. It is one of the most prominent symbols of the United Kingdom and parliamentary democracy. In August 2017, Big Ben's famous chimes fell silent until 2021 to allow essential repairs to take place to the bells and parts of the clock. We at Typewriter Minutes have been wondering, are there any other mechanically complex devices with a wonderful bell that fell silent during essential repairs?
Hi, this is Ailey from Typewriter Minutes. Today we're going to be doing a review on a Ward Signature 510D, 1971.
So this machine is a big blue serious typing machine. It's made by Brother. It's a JP3. We've done quite a few reviews on little tiny Brother JP1s, which are the ultra portable machines. This one is a full-size portable. So it's you can carry it around to a coffee shop, but it's just a little more luggable as opposed to portable. And when we got this machine, I found out when I was testing it, even though it has a nice bell now, didn't make a bell sound when I got it. That's because the bell was there, but the clapper and the spring for the clapper was missing, and I'll show you what that looks like right now. So thankfully we had a nearly identical Ward's machine that had the bell clapper and the wire that I could use as a model. And then here's our machine with the missing clapper and wire. You could see all the dirt and some of the white dandruff from the old ribbon in there. And the first thing I did was I started to gather some materials, a paper clip. I started to look for some potential bell clappers. And then the next thing I did was I formed the paper clip so that it matched the wire on the model's machine. And then I ended up using a bicycle spoke nipple as the clapper.
He said nipple.
All right, smarty. So I used some epoxy to put that spoke nipple onto the wire, onto the paper clip. Started reassembling. I had to take the bell out to get access to the screw to put it in, and then put everything back together. Okay, let's test out my homemade clapper. Wait for it. Bing! We have a bell. And so now, like Big Ben will in a few years, has a nice ring to the bell. So, it's a full-size, full-featured machine. Over on this side, it has a set and clear tabulator, key set tabulator with set and clear. Works very well. It has the touch control here for height, or heavy touch, medium touch, light touch, and it actually makes quite a bit of difference, even more so than on the little JP1s. The heavy touch is really makes a difference versus light. And we have dedicated one, an exclamation mark. Over here we have a red key with a plus and an equal. As far as I can tell, this key does not pop off easily like some of the Smith Coronas. But I believe the reason this is on here is that this type slug appears to be removable, unlike all the others. So I'm not sure if you change out the type slug, how you change the key other than popping it off like you would a normal key. So if anybody has experience with this particular key and why it's red as opposed to white, let me know. Because at least on the Smith Coronas that had interchangeable type slugs and keys, the top of it was easy to pop off, and replace with the matching symbol that goes with type slug. This is just a regular key as far as I could tell. Over here you got the margin release. Just like on the Brother JP1s, if you have a couple type bars that get stuck up there together, you can either flick it back, if you come up here, either flick it back with your hand or just hit the margin release button and they pop right back. I'll come around to this side. What do we have here, Ailey?
I think they are color changers.
Yeah, so that changes the color of the ribbon. And on most typewriters, you change those by a lever. Brother thought I'm not sure if they were trying to make it look space age, but they have these cool looking buttons. Red, black, and stencil. And that changes how the ribbon vibrator works. And we will show you on the inside how that looks in just a sec. Here's how the push button color selector works. This little guy, when it pivots, there's a little connecting rod, hard to see, moves back and forth, and then it connects over here to something that connects to the ribbon vibrator. So every time that gets pulled, the vibrator goes up. Now when this is on stencil mode, this guy is down here, so when you push a key, it doesn't activate this lever. When you have it on the black, this guy comes all the way up here, and it does pull it. So the ribbon vibrator goes up a little bit to hit the black part of the ribbon. Now when it's on red, this guy comes down here. And so there's a little more leverage pulling that linkage, which causes this guy to come back farther, which causes the ribbon vibrator to go up higher to hit the red part of the ribbon. So, kind of cool. This is what's happening underneath. When you got the body on, all you see are the 3 buttons, but that's what's going on down here. So that's a quick look at the ribbon vibrator. We'll come around to this side here. This here is the carriage lock. It's a little silver lever that goes back and forth. That's how when you're ready to put it in the case, flip it forward and then it locks into place. And when you're ready to type, just push it back. Has a platen knob, has a carriage release lever on each side. Something that's interesting is that unlike on a Smith Corona, when you push the key lever over here, the corresponding lever on the other side moves. They kind of operate independently. They both allow you to release the carriage, but when you move this carriage release lever, this one doesn't move. So it's just a, interesting design touch on that. Back over here, if you'll zoom in, we have one up here, this is the paper release lever. And it's kind of a nice touch. It reminds me of the Royal tin that we have. When you lift up the paper release lever, it also raises the paper bail up a touch. So it makes it easier to pull the paper out when you're done. It's just kind of a neat little touch. I haven't seen every typewriter in the world, but the only one that's passed through our hands that has that feature is our Royal tin. Kind of a nice touch. Has push and slide margins on the back, like most typewriters. Nice and simple. We'll come around to the back side here. It has a pop-up paper support. It's not a switchblade like a lot of the Brother JP1s. You push a button and it pops up. This one is just manually operated. You lift up, push it down. Back here, got a few scuffs. I'm debating whether or not to do touch-up paint and get the little teeny tiny scuffs. Overall, the paint's in really good condition. You can see the nice Ward signature tag on the back. Back over this side, we have again the carriage release lever that when you move this one, the right one doesn't move. Just interesting. And it has a nice, big, heavy return arm here. And we happen to have, I'm gonna reach over here. we have the original rubber covering that goes on it. You put that on when you put it in the case so that it doesn't somehow scratch the cover on the ribbon cover. Let's see here. Nice feature on this, if you'll come up and then zoom in on the line spacing. Come up here and then tilt the camera down. There you go. This has more line space options than any other typewriter I think I've seen. When it's on 0, it still clicks when you turn the platen knob, but it doesn't advance when you push the carriage. It just doesn't do anything. So that's what the 0 setting is. And then it has settings for 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and 3. So I've had several typewriters that have had 3 or 4 positions, but I don't think I've had any that have had this many options on the line space lever. So that's kind of a neat touch. Over here, this is the variable line spacing. You just push that in. It also releases the clicks if you want to get it to an exact place when you're typing on a form. Has a nice big rulers on the front and the back, and check out the huge, I've never seen screws in the front that are that large. When I was reassembling the machine, I was almost done and I had these 2 big screws left, and it took me a second to figure out that those are actually for, or to remember that those were for the ruler. Usually they're teeny tiny screws, but this is a big serious machine. So under the hood here, if you pop this up, the cover, just like the whole machine, is a nice solid metal. It has these 2 prongs here fit down inside this hole on each side, so it's got a little kind of a spring in there that holds the tension to hold the ribbon cover in place. And then it's got a little hook here and on here. And there's just a little tiny post on each side that it goes into. So how are we doing on the camera? Are we good? Okay. So here's the inside under the cover. It's got this row of springs up on the top. Just a little different design as you would expect from a full-size machine compared to the little brother JB1. Has the spring tensions on the ribbon spools. Has the same ribbon reverse mechanism that the JP1 has. You can flip it manually like this to make the ribbon go this way or this way. And then you need eyelets on the ribbon for the automatic ribbon reverse to work. And when it's to the end of the spool, eyelet just comes out, flicks that, starts going the other direction. We'll do a type test in a few minutes, but it's a really nice solid typer. It has a heavier touch than the brother JP1. Even on the light setting on this just requires a little bit extra heavier touch compared to the small brother. And I think that's about it for the type basket. It's oh, by the way, it's a nice carriage shift. The brother JP1 is it's a basket shift. The brother JP1 is a carriage shift. This one has a nice light segment shift or basket shift, so it's fairly easy on the fingers, on your pinky finger, if you're a touch typist. I think that about does it for the features. We'll take a look at the case next.
And now let's take a look at the case.
All right, so it's got a nice greenish blue case. I'm gonna clean it up a little bit more because it's got a little bit of white out or something on the outside. But it reminds me an awful lot of the trimline carrying case, the black ones from Smith Corona, because it's about the same size. It's got nice big sturdy feet. It's got this, I don't know, I think it's to help keep the dust out the way the case fits together, but it's got this going all the way around. So overall about the same size as a trimline carrying case. It's got a plastic handle with the Ward signature logo, and it has these 2 little black buttons that you squeeze, and that's how you open it up. And when you open it up, you have this really nice looking blue interior, shiny blue interior with the Ward signature logo up there. And then down here, this again reminds me of the Smith Krona trimline carrying case or even the holiday case, because this configuration does the same thing. The whole bracket comes out if you want. You just push this lever right here and you can take the whole bracket out. And then this cleat and these two cleats go into the bottom and the back of the machine. The little slot on the back of the typewriter fits into here, and the other two slots are under the machine, and that's what keeps it in place. It locks in place, and it's got this lift out lever or lift up lever, again, just like on the older holiday cases. So it works very well, very sturdy, and it's kind of a cool color. So overall, we give the case a good rating. Okay, this will give you a little bit of the context for the size. Here's the signature 510D next to its little brother, which is a brother-made Webster XL500. And you can see the Webster's a lower profile, just a smaller, semi-ultra portable machine. And the signature is just quite a bit bigger. And here you can look at the signature next to Smith Krona Tower Citation 88, which is a comparable size to like a Smith Krona Galaxy. And the signature is just a little bit bigger. So not as big as a standard machine, but a little bit bigger than a full-size Smith Krona portable, and quite a bit bigger than a little Webster XL500.
And before we get to anything else, my dad forgot to show you the bottom of the machine.
Okay, so let's lift this big guy up, and I've actually removed the bottom plate. So the bottom plate's similar to a 6 series Smith Krona. It's got 2 screws that hold it in here, and then this has 2 little tabs that come on the frame here. So you just hook it onto the frame, lift it up, and then screw in the top screws. But I took that off so that we could see what the inside of the typewriter looks like. It's got 4 beefy feet on the bottom, gray feet. The plastic's not the softest, but they're not crumbling, they're not cracked, so the feet are in good shape. And here's the bottom. When we got this thing, it was absolutely filthy dirty. The keys were sticking. There was all kinds of goo and eraser shavings and fluff and dust, so we gave it a full chemical clean. Everything's nice and clean now. And you can see here, again, there's the bell that I showed you earlier. And here's the tabulator brake. So I'll show you in the type test. On some machines, when you push the tab button, the carriage just goes flying to the left. This has this little tabulator brake with 2 shoes on the inside, kind of like your brakes on a car, that come out and slow the carriage down so it doesn't go crashing to the left, which is kind of a nice touch. So anyway, big machine, nice big clean machine now with a working bell and a nice little tabulator brake.
And now for the type test.
And before I start typing, a couple notes about the space bar. This space bar, unlike the Brother JP1's, has 4 rubber bumpers underneath. The Brother JP1 has 2 bottom rubber bumpers so that if they're missing, you get a clacking sound when the metal on the linkage hits the bottom plate. Those were missing. This also has 2 upper rubber bumpers that limit the upper travel of the space bar. Those were missing, and so the space bar came up too high. And so I've replaced all 4 rubber bumpers, and now we have a space bar that works just perfectly. And so we'll go ahead and do a couple lines. I'm going to put it on maybe medium touch, and we'll start out on the black setting. There's a nice bell. And if we keep going, get to the line lock, so that prevents you when you get at the right margin over here. Oops, sorry, Miss Camera Woman. When you get to the right margin over there, the line lock kicks in. That keeps you from typing over the last letter. And then if you want to keep going into the margin, just push the margin release button and keep typing. All right. machine's really solid. It does have a heavier touch, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video. If you're a touch typist, the touch is kind of a subjective thing. I like it. You know, some might be turned off by the little bit heavier touch, but overall, very solid typer. All right, we'll do the push button over here for red. And we'll do the lines on red. Oops, typo. Carriage is a big, heavy carriage. Thankfully, you got a nice, big return lever to throw it over. So let's take a look at the. I'm going to take the camera here and show you the print quality is nice and crisp. The type slugs were full of gunk and old ink, and I cleaned those out. Pardon the typos here. But the black and the red does not bleed. If you, some machines, you get a little bit of bleeding when it's on red. You get a little bit of black on the letters. This one's just perfect. So type alignment and the red and black quality is really good. And I'm going to pass the camera back off and do a quick alignment test. So I'll do capital H, lower H, capital H, shift lock H. And do one more over here. Shift lock H. And I'll show you those. Didn't have to adjust those at all because they were perfectly aligned when I got it, and they still are perfectly aligned. So it looks really good. And I'll show you the tabulator. I have it set every 10 spaces. And if I clear them, you can clear the tabs one at a time. I'm going to pass the camera back off over here. So to clear the tabs, you just tab over, clear, tab, clear, tab, clear, tab. That's how you clear them all. And so now, on some machines with the tabs cleared and you push the tab, it would come crashing over to the left. This one, because of the tabulator brake, doesn't go near as fast, and so just has a nice smooth operation to it. So overall, a really good typer, really solid typer. I would expect Brother quality to be excellent, just like it is with Brother JP1s. I like the way it's designed. A little heavier touch, like I mentioned, so for hunt and peck typists, probably not as big of a deal. But for touch typists, even though it does have a nice light basket shift, the rest of the keys just require a little heavier touch than the little Brother JP1.
We'll finish up this review with some pros and cons.
Okay, I'll do the pros. It's got solid metal construction. I like very little plastic on this machine. Nice, heavy, sturdy metal body. It's well designed with lots of features. Speaking of features, I forgot to show this little doodad here. You have I mentioned the variable line spacing over here. When you use that to move or you'll lose your line spacing. This one here retains your line spacing, but allows you to move it without the clicks, and you can move it exactly where you want. So I forgot to mention that. But again, all these line space selections over here, the touch control, the keyset tabulator, just about everything that you want. I can't remember if we mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but we have a nearly identical machine. The only other feature that machine has that this one doesn't is that one has a paper injector up here. Maybe we'll show that in another video. But otherwise, really a full-featured machine. The color on this is a nice blue color overall. It's in really good shape cosmetically and mechanically now that we've taken it all apart and cleaned and tuned it and fixed the bell and a few other things. It's got a few minor scuffs here and there, but overall I'd say the body is an A minus. The paper bail razor, I call it the razor, raises up a little bit when you do the paper release. That's kind of cool. It's got the push buttons for the color selector. You just don't see that on many machines. The Princess has a push button color selector. Maybe some others that I can't think of, but that's just kind of a neat, I don't know, space age touch. The Swank blue and green carrying case. There it is over there, behind in front of all the magazines. Just like the Trimline carrying case. Nice, solid, rugged design. And then I forgot to mention this, but the rubber platen and the feed rollers, just like on all the little brothers that we've reviewed, are still soft and pliable. So that's something you don't have to worry about having to get the platen recovered, so that's definitely a plus. Cons, we can only think of a few. Ailey, what are those?
It's big and heavy and slightly heavy typing.
Yeah, slightly heavier typing touch than on some other machines, but other than that, overall, it's a really good, solid typer. Luggable more than portable, but you can certainly take this to the coffee shop. Just have a nice, sturdy table ready for you.
Thanks for watching on Typewriter Minutes. Make sure to share, link, like, and subscribe. Goodbye.